The Chicago City Treasurer presents the Financial Empowerment Summit, featuring powerful financial advice from multimillionaire stars and experts. This is BMO EMpower.
Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. My name is Ron Millsap. I'm Director of Business Banking Industry Vertical Teams, where I oversee programming for underrepresented and underserved specialty programs, as well as developing specialized products and services across industry segments over U.S. banks, over BMO Harris Bank's U.S. footprint. I'm excited about this opportunity today to be here with you guys and have this great conversation. The goal here is to inspire this audience to dream, to set goals, to believe in themselves and the possibilities that exist to create worthwhile businesses that can transform their lives, the lives of their employees, and the communities that they serve. I'm ecstatic that our treasurer, Melissa Conyears-Ervin, has created this wonderful summit and chosen this important topic. And even better, I'm truly fortunate to be joined by this impressive panel of small business owners, trendsetters, and trailblazers. I have Alison Victoria, designer and star of HGTV's Windy City Rehab. To learn more about Alison, you can follow her at the Alison Victoria on Instagram. I have Trez Pugh, owner and founder of Sip and Savor Hospitality Group, where coffee and community meet. You can follow and learn more about Trez at sipandsavorchicago.com. I have Jessica Wolak, president and CEO of Adelante Construction, rebuilding the infrastructure of the communities of the city of Chicago. You can learn more about Jessica at AdelanteConstructionGroup.com. I have Lauren Daniels, COO and co-founder of the Opulence Gallery, the perfect place to be social. Follow her and learn more at OpulenceGallery.com. And last but not least, I have Lindrea Reynolds, founder and Chief Brand Strategist of LR Brand Consulting, your brand's #1 fan. Follow her at lrbrandconsulting.com. The theme of our panel is from resiliency to the road to recovery. Why now is a great time to become an entrepreneur, and how women-owned and diverse small businesses are defying the odds. BMO's why in our business banking segment is to vigorously defend the little guy, the solopreneur, the mom and pop shop, and the everyday Main Street business that fuels our economy by providing better access to capital, better access to educational resources, and better access to partnerships and networking events to help our businesses achieve real financial progress. Our response to the global pandemic, the killing of George Floyd, mass civic and social unrest, and political instability was to launch BMO EMpower, our bold $5 billion commitment over 5 years to address key barriers faced by minority businesses, communities, and families in the U.S. through lending, investing, giving, and engagement in our local communities. We are tackling barriers to inclusion in the financial service industry to create more opportunity for recovery and success. As a part of that commitment, there's a $300 million pledge to support small businesses, expanding resources to women, Black and Latinx small businesses. BMO's program provides customers with expanded credit criteria and competitive interest rates. By increasing our direct investment in minority-owned businesses, we can break down barriers to inclusion, increase access to capital, and drive an inclusive economic recovery. Many underserved businesses owners struggle with access to capital, and BMO's programs are playing a key and important role in creating increased economic opportunities. Year to date, there are over 8 million small businesses that are minority-owned, and over 42% of those report challenges in obtaining access to capital, where 29% of non-minority-owned businesses report those same challenges. We are proud that through our programs in less than 2 years, we've lent $45 million in capital to support the small business working capital needs, and 1,700 plus small businesses supported. We invite you to learn more about these programs and additional resources that we have to offer by visiting us at BMO Harris and going to our specialty program tabs and learning about BMO Black and Latinx and women in business. What is fueling this small business growth. Despite everything that's happened over the last few years and everything that's happening now, a looming recession, unprecedented price inflation, natural disasters, a COVID-19 hangover that we can't seem to shake, and an ongoing war in Ukraine, women and diverse small businesses are not only surviving, but thriving and continue to grow at a faster clip than any other small businesses. During our conversation, we will explore these topics and hear firsthand from a diverse set of small business leaders representing various industry segments on how they are building wealth today for tomorrow. I'm going to start with my first question to my right here. I'm going to ask Lindrea, why entrepreneurship and why now? And as you unpack this question, I want you to think about your own personal why and that of your company.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. Why is a it's a very powerful question, because we all have a why. Everyone in this room has a why. You know why you applied to a certain job. You know why you're in this space today. And so when I think about my why, especially as it relates to entrepreneurship and being a small business owner, I often reflect on my story when I was sitting in my cubicle at my last position, and I was crying. And I wasn't crying because I was in a hostile work environment. It was because my vision was greater than my space. It was greater than my cubicle. And I think so often we're in positions and we have visions that exceed the rooms that we're in. And as an entrepreneur and as a leader, I had to really think about, how do I step out of this space, knowing that I was in a space where I was serving youth. And youth are so important to me, but my personal mission was to help everyone see their value below the surface. So I couldn't do that in a position that I was in. So what I decided to do was walk away from my position. And I believe a lot of us know in this room, especially as a Black woman, I had just got promoted too. So I felt guilt from being promoted. And we're told, it's okay, accept it. You just got promoted. I felt bad. But I knew that in order for me to elevate and really impact my community, my family, and also live out my own personal dreams and aspirations, I had to walk away. So my why for entrepreneurship is because I had to follow my own mission. And my mission was to help people see their value below the surface. And I wanted to start an organization that helped people to positively influence brand behavior by making authentic human connections. We live in such a polarized society where we're not taking the opportunity to get to know people and understand how can we connect with them so we can better serve them. And I knew I needed to do that beyond the space that I was in.
I love that response. I absolutely love that response. I'm gonna take that same question. I'm gonna flip it to Miss Alison here. As an interior designer, an artist, a creative, I come to learn that you are quite the traveler. Like, how does that inform your why? How does that spark your creativity? How does that allow you to get in front of the TV in front of millions and not flinch?
The inspiration for me through travel. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I love travel. I love meeting new people and exploring new places. But also for me, design, construction, any space that I starts with one thing, whether it's a piece of fabric that I, found on an old pillow, or a vintage piece that I found here in Chicago or overseas or anywhere on my travels. But it starts with a spark, right? And what the spark is for me is finding inspiration through living. And travel for me it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel rested. I know it sounds crazy because I'm on a plane probably 4 to 6 times a week. But if I didn't have that, I would feel very stagnant. And it kind of empowers me and inspires me to just do what I do at a higher level. Even though I might be a little tired, I'm still more inspired. And I didn't even mean to rhyme there. I didn't even mean to do that. But yeah, for me, I mean, the part of my why is like, why not? Why not? You know, we got one life. It's real short, guys. What are you waiting for? Why are we waiting? And I oftentimes hear, I'm scared. What if I don't make it? One of my best friends, I was like, come and be my assistant. She goes, what if I don't like it? I don't know. What if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? We don't know anything. Go and do you. Figure it out. Fail, fall. Who cares? You're going to get back up. And I think that's the biggest thing for all of you with your whys. Why are you not doing it now? Ask yourself that and figure it out, because the next day you better be figuring out what the next step is to get to the goal, you know?
Trez, same question for you.
Yes, sir. So first, thanks for having me here. Plain and simple, it's generational wealth. I got in this game so my grandkids can have a good life. And in order to do that, I had to build something. I had to have some type of process, some system, vis-a-vis Sip and Savor. Just by a show of hands, how many heard of Sip and Savor or been in there? All right, I appreciate you guys. So in this atmosphere, I wanted to create a classy, elegant venue where you could come in and network in a place where it was warm and inviting. And for those who've been there, I'm sure you've experienced this, where you go in there, it kind of wraps his arms around you. You go there and you network. You go there, you can do some studying. You can go there on a date. So my whole why was to bring us together, because us as a people, we like to gather, whether it be church, at a club, bingo, whatever. Why not gather at a nice coffee house where you can meet interesting people, attractive women, handsome men, and probably create a job. So my whole why was changing communities, creating jobs in an atmosphere that was safe and inviting. And that's plain and simple how I did it.
Now, Lauren, you have a space that you can talk about and lean into that why of how you and your mom, right? And is it your cousin and her mom?
Yes.
Yep. So we're talking about a family business for women in business. Tell us about that.
Sure. So for us, you know, similar to a lot of the panelists, is generational wealth, truly. We own Opulence Gallery. It's a mid-sized contemporary event venue in the south suburbs. We're located in Flossmoor, and we're in the process of opening up our second location in Orland. And we're a team of two mother-daughter duos that saw a need and wanted to fill it. You know, not just for ourselves, but the people in our communities. You know, out in the south suburbs right now, you have all of these, you know, traditional banquet halls with, you know, beige floors, carpet. You can't bring your own food. You can't bring your own decor. And if you want a customizable space, you have to go downtown, which is okay. But if you live out there, you know, it can be a lot. And so we're really filling that gap and providing people with a great space that's all-inclusive, that you're able to bring in your own food. We have an open food vendor policy, ample parking, and customizable decor that allows people to bring in their own traditions, their own cultural ideas, you know, really make the space their own without being watered down by, you know, the requirements of a traditional venue. And for us, we want to make sure we allow our community to do the things that they feel in the way they want to celebrate, whether it's a wedding or a shower or whatever life celebration, but kind of bringing it back, just really pouring into our community, both employing people in the area and allowing them to celebrate in the way they want to, while bringing our space together with our family. So my mom, my cousin, my aunt, all of us, we're really, really passionate about it.
Jessica, you were a Latin woman in construction. In 2018, you responded to Why Not? Yes. Tell us about the Why Not for you and how that empowered you in an industry where there's not a lot of women representation, let alone Latina women representation in that industry. Tell us more.
Sure. So my why was really focused on being community-based. I started off my career as a construction attorney, kind of wanting to bring that female representation. Why can't we go to law school? Why can't we be attorneys? Why can't we improve, you know, projects around us and make people's lives better? And then I had an opportunity to actually get involved with my family business. My uncle, who's been a contractor for years, was actually trying to hire me to come in-house, And the more that I learned his business, I was like, you know what? How about you just mentor me and I'll build another one and we'll do this from a woman-owned, fresh, new perspective. And so that is what I did. And his mentorship has been crucial. My mission at the time was really to improve the infrastructure of the communities of the city of Chicago. And so when I, drive past projects that we have done for Chicago Public Schools, the Chicago Housing Authority on the South Side where I grew up, it is very inspiring to me. And then also, like you had mentioned, the supplier diversity piece. I knew from my experience as an attorney that supplier diversity in construction contracting in particular was very valuable. Those goals kind of always existed, but before now, they were just goals, and now they're actually being enforced and tracked. And so if you have a service or a product to offer, and you can couple it with that supplier diversity piece, but also your own skill set and your own professional background, and your own expertise, then you combine all of those things together and provide something that's a really strong value proposition to the customer. And that's exactly what we did.
That's amazing. Trez, I want to, being in the hospitality business in the midst of a pandemic, probably had, as a banker, experiencing it and working with clients through PPP, had to just be one of the most challenging times. How were you really able to, in that moment, kind of move just beyond just simply surviving to figuring out how to thrive in that environment? I think banks were stepping up. I think our governments were stepping up. Our beautiful elected officials across this city and this state were stepping up in amazing ways with grants and other supports. But the work of being a small business owner, it's not hard work, guys. It's hard work. Tell us about it.
Indeed. So the surviving to thriving piece, you have to take a real hard, long look at your business model. What went on pre-pandemic may not be applicable post-pandemic. So you have to make some very hard decisions. And what I mean by that, you have to look at your team, that being your attorney, your accountant, your graphic designer, your strategic manager, your substance people that deal with all your vendors, and see, are they the right people that have the bandwidth and the commitment level you need to take you to that next level. In addition to that, you have to look at yourself. Can you step back and bring in those people? Because as an entrepreneur, I'm used to structure. I was a federal agent for 38 years. I worked for the government. A lot of people didn't know that. We had systems, processes, procedures. When you're an entrepreneur, you don't have that when you first start. People don't tell you when you start off, you got to do everything. I was the barista. I was shopping. I was the custodian. I was running to the vendors. I was calling the cities for permits. I was washing dishes at the crib when my wife said I didn't do the dishes. So I did everything. And when you do that, you become inefficient and ineffective. And a lot of people need to understand that. You can't do it all. You need a sharp team. So I had to look at my team, and I had to make some tough decisions on maybe I don't have the right people in place. Maybe I need to change my business model. I need to use more technology, my rewards program, see what people want. And I'll just wrap it up with this. You have to be able to step back and let those people with the skill set do their job. If you don't, you will drown or become a dinosaur and become extinct. The only thing constant in life is change. Be able to adapt. I'll leave you with that. Be able to adapt.
So when we were just in the hallway, we were talking a little bit about this pivot for you. Tell folks what you're doing and what you're doing differently in this current environment, given rising interest rates, low home inventory, and all the doom and gloom that would have most people shaking in their boots and ready to turn around and quit. What are you doing different?
Yeah, no, we started because you said, hey, do you have any properties that you're renting? And I said, no, I've completely shifted my business model, and I've gone back to kind of the start for me. And my beginning was private clients. So I started my design firm years and years and years ago, and that was right after I worked for a really big home builder in Las Vegas. And I started my design firm with one client and a lot of hope. And it just snowballed into an amazing business for me. It was thriving, and it was really just me doing it by myself. So it wasn't what I love what you said, which is you can't do it all by yourself. And I wasn't growing at a certain point. So I thought, okay, well, where do I take this business now? And then I found myself in the development game, buying properties, fixing them. And people would always say, oh, you're in the flipping business. Flipping was so different than what I did. It took me about a year for each property, and the time and commitment and detail that went into every single property was not a flip. It was a full renovation, and it took a really long time. I had at one point, I think, 22 bank loans. I was drowning in interest rates with construction loans. And then the pandemic hit, and we had to sell off a lot of properties, fire sales, which I don't know if you know what that means, but the vultures come out, and it's a really, really dirty game. And it was really, obviously very upsetting and disturbing in this industry. But it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to let this bring me down. I'm going to figure out how to shift. And so I found myself back at the beginning, and I'm working with clients again. I'm traveling even more now with clients, but most of my client base is here in Chicago. So taking on more clients that really need my help, my expertise, and also for me, I think the most knowledge that you can have in any business is knowing what not to do. And I've learned a lot about what not to do. So now I'm taking all that, and I'm thriving in this space with my clients and waiting it out. This is my love. This is my passion. I will get back to it in a different form, in a different way. So it is all about shifting. It's the pivot, the big pivot. And otherwise, like you said, you're a dinosaur. And I don't want to be a dinosaur. Not now. No.
Jessica, I really admire you because you started a business in the midst of a recession. And that's pretty bold. So you walked into it probably not knowing everything to expect, which could have, I know that had to be an advantage too, given what was going on. How did you leverage stepping into that bold environment in the midst of a recession and really just, going forward?
So I had actually started and incorporated the business just before, in late 2018. But due to the nature we were doing all commercial construction, I spent all of 2019 doing startup tasks. I was getting licensed. I was getting my insurance. I was becoming signatory with the union. So we couldn't go to work yet. And then right as we became biddable and getting our foot in the door, that's when COVID hit. And it was like, oh my God, we just got ready. We just started to build some brand recognition, and we have to stop. And we were faced with, unprecedented labor shortages, supply chain issues. We had our largest customers locking their budgets and not releasing work that we were anticipating bidding on. So it was a very scary time. But out of that market disruption, we actually started receiving requests from our existing customers asking us to do different services for them. We identified a new need. And so what we were hearing was that while these large projects weren't being released, our customers had schools and park districts that were in disrepair, and they needed maintenance. They needed routine maintenance and preventative services to keep the building safe, clean, and dry. And so we got off our high horse and didn't wait for that big project to bid, but we started doing routine maintenance, preventative services, hearing the needs of the customer, adapting to that. And out of that kind of pivot, we've actually added a new revenue stream and a new service to our portfolio that we were not even providing before. And we continue to perform it at an even larger scale today.
Laura, similar question for you, being in event management space, not considered an essential service, and dealing with COVID and shutdowns and all of the like. How are you able to survive that?
Oh my gosh, I could write a book on this, y'all. It was crazy. We're an event venue. We're built off people being social. And of course, COVID cut that off for everyone. And so we were actually getting ready to open. We started in 2019. We're going to have a grand opening date of April 15th, 2020. But then, of course, on March 15th, 2020, everything shut down. So here we are with this space. We can't even have anyone in there. It's like, oh my God, what we have to do. We got, rent to pay and bills and things like that. But we were able to have our first event in July of 2020. But luckily, on a smaller scale, we couldn't have 100 people, but we could still have, 20, 25, 50 people. And people wanted that. They still wanted to engage with close friends, close family. We got into the micro events that people are now doing. Maybe they're not doing 200 and 300 person events, but they wanted to have more intimate events. And because we're a mid-sized venue, we were able to serve that group of people. And so now, shifting our business model a bit, in the new normal, we're offering more services in-house, including decor, photo booths, things like that we previously outsourced, but now are bringing in-house and increasing our price point per person. So while it wasn't ideal, it really allowed us to think outside the box and figure out the ways that we can continue to grow our business.
Now, Lindrea, you had to navigate this for your own business, but I'm sure your phone was ringing off the hook, being a branding and consultant, and everyone, number one brand's fan. So I'm sure folks were like, I need to pivot. I got to update this website. I need to speak more to my purpose and my why. So how did you juggle not only keeping your business afloat, but helping so many others? Because I know you live to help others.
Interesting enough, it wasn't ringing off the hook like that. Because we were all in a pandemic, right? So people were trying to save their money. People were trying to figure out, should I invest in my business? Should I keep it as is? Does it even matter if someone's visiting my website right now? So it was a little difficult to navigate. I launched my business in 2019 in November, and I didn't know a pandemic was coming. And so luckily for me, I launched into this digital transformation. Personally, I love talking to people and networking with people, so not being able to go to events, it was difficult for me. But what I learned during the pandemic was I was bootstrapping, and I was working. And I think like Trez said, I was gonna turn into a Triceratops, a dinosaur, because I found myself doing the same work I was doing in my old position. So I had to switch over and work on my business and not in my business. So I started to invest in education. I invested in business education. I got a business advisor. I got a business credit line. I started to invest in ways for me to grow my business during this time because so many opportunities were opening up, especially for businesses of color. So I had to take advantage of that. So that was a benefit. But that's how I started to move from surviving to thriving. And it made me more available for the customers that I actually wanted because I didn't want to be desperate. But I knew that I had to lay a foundation to make sure that I can hire properly and I can grow properly. And it came from mentorship. And so I encourage everyone in this room to get a mentor in whatever you're doing. And no matter what age you are, mentorship, it's evergreen. And it has helped me tremendously with growing my business and making transformational relationships.
That is awesome. Now, we have these panel discussions, and not very often do we get into the real bad, ugly, and extremely ugly circumstances of what happens in business. We seem to think we know Alison. We watch her on HGTV, but through her manager and partner, I learned so much more about her as a person. And I think, we can read the tea leaves of what we see on TV or what we read online. But Alison, can you, you're a vulnerable person. You shared a lot with me. Can you just really talk about the last 2 years for you and some of the challenges you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's not behind me yet. I still have one lawsuit that's lingering. But, years and years and years ago, I got into business with somebody and I didn't do my homework. And I always tell everybody to do your homework, right? And whether it's, we were talking about contractors. How do you wrangle them? What do you do? How do you hire a GC? Homework. Call their past clients. Find out how the jobs went. Anyway, I found myself in a position where I had this business partner. And I remember I was in Los Angeles. I was filming a show called Rock the Block. It was like the first day. So it was, it was 2-hour difference. I woke up in the morning to 50 messages, and it was all my bankers, lawyer, network, everybody going, what the hell is going on? And I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, look at the paper, look at the front page of the Tribune. And it was shocking to find out information from the media before actually hearing it from someone who I trusted. So it was this moment that I will never forget. I knew exactly where I was. I remember what I was wearing. I remember how that day went. And after that, it was literally just fight and no flight. It was, I got to fight this fight. It's not mine, but now it's mine, and I got to figure out how to fix this. I saw a lot of people at that point in my life who ran away from things. And I guess maybe that's easier. For me, it was pick yourself up, dust yourself off, call the banks, have the real conversations with your investors, and do what you need to do to make it right. I didn't have the money to pay these people back. I didn't have the power to sell properties for more than I could get them for. So I was doing literally just short selling things and fire sales and, promissory notes and like, I didn't know if I was going to survive financially. I went from being on top of the world and building a business by myself and thriving in that space and being so proud of it to being completely just taken down. And then all the while I'm getting sued by everyone, at one point I had 9 or 10 lawsuits at the same time. I had never had a lawyer in my life, and now all of a sudden I had 6. I couldn't pay them. I didn't know what, I just knew that I had to every day chip away at it. Every day I had to get up and I put on my armor. I went to battle. And some days I went to bed crying and just distraught and distressed and not knowing if I was going to do it again the next day. But it was like I had real thoughts of just sadness and fear around like what I was going to do to myself, what I was going to do in general. It was the darkest time of my life. The weirdest part about this is that the minute that the pandemic hit, so imagine this, I try to explain it to anybody who asks, but it's like I literally was at a place where I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills, if I was going to be able to keep my house, if I was going to be able to keep my car. I sold my car, had to sell my car. So I had no idea what the hell was going on and how I was going to get up the next day and do it, or if the network was going to fire me. Like that was my bread and butter. Like, is my network going to stand behind me and fight this fight with me? Because they could have said, the hell with you, we're done. And then I wouldn't even have that anymore. So, but to be in this world of unknown, and a lot of us are there. We live in gray. We don't know what's going on. We're kind of in limbo. We've all been in limbo on this panel. I know it. But to be in this gray zone, and I'm very black and white. I am black or white. That's it. I don't live in gray. I don't know what that was. And all of a sudden I was just like in this just stream of gray every single day for years. The pandemic hits, and all of a sudden, as weird as this sounds, and I'm not trying to say it in a bad way, I all of a sudden felt normal. Everyone in this room and everyone in the world felt like they were in the world of the unknown. They didn't know what the hell was happening tomorrow. They didn't know, you guys didn't know how you're paying your bills, if you were going to make it, all these questions, right? And all of a sudden, I felt like I was like normal again, because I felt like the rest of the world felt like I did. And so it was such a weird place to be. But I just remember going, if I had, and also, by the way, imagine going through all that and the papers are writing everything about you and the People magazines and everybody's writing all this stuff and none of it's true. And it took everything in my power to not speak on it because I knew that if I said one thing, they would twist my words anyway. So it's like I kind of would just like hurt myself by doing it. So I literally just stayed home. I didn't go out. This was before the pandemic, but like I would go to restaurants and everyone would stare at me like, oh, there she is. She's, the word was fraud. That was the word. Like I was a fraud. And it was like, that couldn't be more far or further from the truth. But it was my truth and I knew it. And I knew that all of a sudden I had to be patient and let this play out. My network stood behind me. My network showed everything that happened. and let it just go. That's how it went. It was like the story just continued with my pivot.
Yeah. Anybody else want to take this question on? Like, I think it's just an opportunity to be vulnerable and maybe share some of those low points so people realize it's not always success. It's the lessons that we learn from failure, from real difficult challenges. Any of you guys want to take that one on?
Sure. I think for me, and Alison and I were just talking about this, we're in the process of building out our new space. We're going from our current space, which is 2,500 square feet, to opening a new venue that's 7,000 square feet. So now we're talking about build outs, demos, constructions, general contractors, permits, something that was so new to us, and kind of going into this thing and not knowing much about it and just kind of figuring things out along the way. So really shifting our mindset to say, okay, this is what we've done now, but this is what we have to do here. And not only having a hard time with the contracting piece, but also financing. And I know this is something that as minorities, we have all struggled with. Finding money, getting money to fund our projects. And, we've heard no so many times. Oh yeah, your business is doing great. You're doing multi-six-figure earnings. That's awesome. But we can't help you. It's just like, what do we have to do? I know people literally, cisgender white males who will say, oh, I got this idea, and get $1 million. It's just like, okay, but we have a proven concept. You see it, people are there, we have the earnings, but still can't get the funding. And so this is something we're still struggling with and are working our way through. But once we kind of finish and get to that, like, my partners and I are really looking forward to sharing our story so we can help others in this position to be okay and speak openly about this struggle, but also assist each other in these processes.
Trez, like, we talked a little bit about this particular question, and it's not just, going through difficult times, but how you manage your well-being and your peace, and that you have to work on, like, multiple parts of your life and your person to be able to be successful, truly successful. How have you been able to weather those storms? Because I know it was a start and a stop and a restart for you as well. Talk about it.
So I still struggle with that piece, balance, I call it, personal and professional. But one of the things I do is I listen. You got to have a lot of humility. And I'm fortunate enough to have a team that's willing to tell me the things that I need to hear, not what I want to hear. So in this game, as an entrepreneur, you can literally push yourself so much that you push yourself away from your family, from your health. You don't take care of yourself. So what I've done is surrounded myself with people that not only care about my business, but care about me. They always tell me, you need to be around for a while to see the fruits of your labor. So what I do is I listen more, and I put myself on my calendar. And what I mean by that is, you can put a bunch of meetings, you can put Zooms, you can put all these things you got to do with the city and vendors. How often do you put yourself on your calendar for a massage or for a rest day? So it was hard for me. Like I said, if you get used to doing something all the time, you're used to doing it yourself. And it's a very big paradigm shift to have someone much younger than you. I brought on a bunch of millennials. And the reason I did that, because they think different. I'm 59. Most of the people that work for me are under 40 now. Them are my VPs. I got one in the audience right now who's filming everything. Whitney Hampton, she's a VP of strategic planning. My daughter Love, she's VP of operations. They both under 35. But you know what? They both are systematic. They have empathy. They have compassion. They have the things you can't learn in school. So they share them things with me. Even though they all have degrees, you can't teach people humility, empathy, compassion, and all that. You got to have that. So to be able to listen to them is what gives me that balance, and it helps me to make it through. It helps me to make it through when they look at the books and when they go and talk to the accountant instead of me, when they deal with my content person for social media instead of me doing it. It takes that pressure off you. And you know how we are as a people. Hypertension, diabetes, high blood pressure, it comes from stress, and stress is a silent killer. So I've learned to shut up, listen, and do what they tell me to do. That gives me balance.
All business is tough. You really got to think about the whole hierarchy of your business. Go ahead.
So it's interesting because I break down a team by two different types. of people. And so I always tell people you need your insulators and your influencers. And your insulators are the people like we're talking about, like what Trez was talking about, even with people who have empathy, people who care about you. I think we don't even take into account that a good team person is someone who will protect your well-being. You know, those are the people that are insulators. They're keeping, it may not be a good idea to go to this event. It may not be a good idea to launch at this time. Perhaps you've experienced a family loss and it just may not be a good time. Those are the people who are your insulators. And so then you have your influencers. Those are the people who are like, they have their ears to the street. They're like, you need to be in this place. You need to have this connection. You need to meet this person. But you need to have a good balance of people on your team who not only want to promote your business, but also want to protect it and want to preserve it. And I always say that especially when it comes to marketing and branding, like Alison said with the situation that she went through, you have to have a good PR team. You have to have a good crisis management team to make sure that the brand is protected. You have to have people at home running the business. And at home, we're human beings first. So we have kids, we have spouses, we have friends. You know, those are all your team members as well. And so you have to take into account that whenever you're running a business, it is a holistic approach. It's a holistic approach, and you need people who are going to influence you, insulate you, and also put up the force field to make sure that you are protected.
Now, if you guys weren't already like taking notes and looking for opportunities to like really tweet and hashtag some of the things that have been dropped today in terms of just great information, in closing, I want to give each one of our panelists an opportunity to just leave you with some knowledge that they have, that they're so willing to share. And I want you guys to be intentional to take this information down. In this room, you're one connection away from your business success, right? You're one insight away from having new hope, new dream, new opportunity. There's something that somebody's already said that's probably sparked a new life with somebody sitting here right in this seat. So I'm gonna pass it to, I'm gonna start with Lauren and we'll work our way back down, but I want each one of them to give you something that you can take from here today and use as you move forward. Go ahead, Lauren.
Sure. I would say the number one thing would be okay with delegation. Know what you're good at and know what you're not good at. What I always tell my business partners, I know what's my ministry and I know what is not my ministry, okay? So be okay with that. Outsource it so that you're able to scale your business to where you want to, doing the things that you're great at so that the people can do the things in a way that you're good at as well.
I would say I have two pieces of advice that I learned on my journey. I would say, first off, take things one step at a time. I had a very bad habit of compiling a huge list of all of the things that I needed to do. And at the time, I was my only employee. And so I was doing everything. And it looked like a mountain. And I was very overwhelmed. And it was almost unmotivating because you don't know where to start. So do your weekly plans. Set quarterly goals and milestones and celebrate them. Small progress is still progress. It's better than you were doing before. And set annual goals and review them and hold yourself accountable. So definitely one piece at a time and celebrate them. And the second piece of advice, which I'm always so surprised that I don't see a lot of other entrepreneurs doing, take advantage of the resources out there. There are so many resources, a lot of them free, especially for entrepreneurs of diverse backgrounds. I myself have received free marketing services. I received a free commercial from Comcast just because I applied and won. There is grant money. There is the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, completely free, absolutely monumental to, it's almost like a mini NBA. So it's like these resources are there for a reason. You don't have to figure everything out alone, and go out and utilize them and leverage them because somebody is going to take advantage and it may as well be you.
I would say enjoy the process, enjoy the ride, have fun. We are still in a pandemic. We're in the middle of inflation and they're talking about a recession, and we have to protect our emotional well-being. We need to sleep. We need to rest. That's the only way we're going to refuel and regenerate and like just, be our best selves. So enjoy it. Find time to spend time with loved ones and somebody you haven't seen in a while. Play games. I mean, over the past few years, I started by playing video games. When I got frustrated, I was playing Mortal Kombat. Like, I was doing puzzles with my grandmother. Like, and so find that time, because those are the things that, surprisingly, it will get you ready when you go into that boardroom meeting or meet with those customers or building that team. And build your values around those types of things. You want to, again, surround yourself with people who share your values and make well-being a value for you, because you're going to need it to survive as a business owner and just as a human in general. So that's my last piece.
I'll add, I woke up this morning, I think I was playing Pump Up the Jam and Push It, and followed by a little E.T., a cold shower. Like, music sets my mood. It gives me intention. Put some gospel music on, and I drive all the way to work feeling like God is on me, he's with me in his purpose. We prayed before we entered this stage. We wanted you guys to get something from this opportunity. So, like, your whole person is a part of your process. Everything that you do from the moment you get out of your bed to the time you go to sleep, if you don't have an intention about it, then you're not taking full accountability and ownership of it. You're leaving it to chance. You're leaving it to somebody else. When I fail, I own it. It's mine. It's not, oh, this person didn't do or that person didn't do. Oh, my father was this or my mother was that. No, it's Ron Millsap looking himself in the mirror and saying, you know what, today you didn't give your best effort. Tomorrow you got to get out and be 1% better. You miss every shot you don't take, right? So, like, those are all like things that we say to ourselves, but how often do we practice it? I don't wake up in the morning without reading my Bible app and going to my meditation app, and then that's how I do it. That gets me going. So, like, figure out those life hacks, be consistent in them every single day, and give yourself grace when you fall off, because you will, and then just get back on the horse. But, like, we got this. The community, the gifts, the talents that exist in you, it's all here. I've seen people win from impossibility, and you can do the same.
I mean, I'm like pumped up. You guys are, every single one of you on this panel is inspiring me. Everything you guys are saying is like I'm taking away from this panel. Like I'm sitting over here. And so thank you, first and foremost. And you guys hit on so many things that I would say too, but I don't want to take up too much time, but I will say that something that I have always lived by, it was a book that I read when I quit my first and only job. It was called The 6 Secrets to Six-Figure Women. Now, it doesn't just apply to women. I've had a lot of my guy friends read this book. But there was a chapter in the book called Letting Go of the Ledge. And this was right before I quit my job, which I'm not kidding, 2 hours later, I quit my job. And I started my own business. Letting go of the ledge was letting go of the security blanket, letting go of that cush of insurance and a steady paycheck. Even though I was sitting in a space I didn't want to. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be my own boss. And so that book was really important to me. Feel the fear, have the doubts, go for it anyways. I've got that tattooed on my body. And also I love what you said about putting yourself on the calendar. I don't think, it's funny, my boyfriend's always like, you're getting another massage? Yep. You're going on another vacation? Yep. If I'm not laughing and happy at even just a moment of the day, I have to be laughing, like that belly laugh, that like it hurts laugh. That has to happen every day or it wasn't a really great one. Sleep is my favorite. Sleeping and antiquing are my 2 favorite things in life. If I don't get 9 hours of sleep, I am not excelling that day. I know it. I feel it. And there's too many of us out there that brag that like, I'm on 5 hours. Like, I'm so cool. No, you're not. You're actually not performing at the level that you should be. And someone else that is powered up and ready to go. So make sure you're getting a good night's sleep and taking care of you. And thank you again. You guys are so inspiring.
So, you guys have set up the alley. I guess I got to oop. They done put the package together. I'm going to put the bow on it. What I'm about to share with you may change your life. You can use it professionally. You can use it personally. And I call it a Pughism. My people laugh at me because my last name is Pugh. And it goes something like this. You deserve what you tolerate. Remember that. You deserve what you tolerate. And I'll explain. If you're in a space in your life and stuff is not going the way it's supposed to, you at a job, you're not being respected, you're in a relationship and it's one-sided, if you don't go to get some type of counseling, if you don't try to look for another job, you deserve to be in that position. So, if you don't do nothing to change your situation, it's on you. So I would leave you with this. As an entrepreneur, working for a job, in a relationship or whatever, look at where you at. It changed my life. If you are complaining to your friends, to your family, and you're always upset, ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do? Whether it's your business or your personal life. The one thing I've learned that helped me change my whole paradigm and catapult me to another level was, like my man said, owning where I'm at, what I'm doing, and doing something different. If you don't, my team will tell you. They come, I'll listen for a while, then I'm say, what's your plan? What are you going to do about it? Because anybody can complain. How do you fix it? You deserve what you tolerate. I leave you with that.
We thank this audience for your engagement, your participation. We hope that you take something away that you can use for your today and your tomorrow. We thank the treasurer again for building wealth today for tomorrow, because we know it's important. You guys have been great, and thank you.
The City Treasurer of Chicago thanks all of our sponsors, including title sponsor BMO and presenting sponsors Chase and Wintrust, and all of our community partners, exhibitors, and guest speakers for their generous support and participation in building wealth today for tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.